All right, I am here with Mr. Jason. Jason, tell the people how much weight did you lose?
So in 12 weeks last summer, I lost 21 pounds from May through August. So it was quite the journey.
Yeah, that is absolutely awesome. And honestly, like the main reason I wanted to talk to you today is because you are such a incredible demonstration of like, okay, lose the weight and then have those default actions in place to sustain it. So, what did the process, apart from those first 3 months, when you actually got to that low body weight range in August-ish, like what has the process looked like maintaining for you since then now, February of the next year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing really it comes down to is the default actions, right? So during that 12 weeks, having you and others on the team to talk with every day if I needed to, just like, hey, am I doing this right? What do I need to try next? That was a big factor of it. But also just to find what worked for me while I had all that accountability. I think that's really when I look at it, what worked best. Of like, okay, when can I go to bed and still be effective? When can I get up and still be effective? What's my body want me to do? What foods do I like to eat that are healthy now
Mm.
versus what's not? And then just, kind of once I hit that goal, it's just I already had all the things I knew worked going, right? So,
Yeah.
I found a bedtime in that process and that's my bedtime. Like, I'm in bed within there's like a 30 to 40 minute range every night that I go to, even on the weekends, because it just feels good for me, right?
Mm.
You occasionally end up out or whatever, but generally I'm in bed. I'm getting up at the same time every day. I'm prioritizing getting that 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night. And then I'm a creature of habit. So the fact that I have a breakfast routine now means I just get up and I have a routine that I like, right? I found foods that I like to eat in the morning that prepare me for my first workout. I have foods that I like to eat during the day, even when it's kind of snack time, all that stuff, and just knowing that I kind of did the work with the help
Mm.
to figure out what is the right things I should be doing here, and then just keep it going because that's it wasn't. I think the hardest thing, sorry, going backwards is when
Yeah.
you have like a diet, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to spend 8 weeks. I'm going to totally change everything. I'm going to hate every minute of it. And then you come out of that and be like, okay, now what do I do? Versus this process was find what works to fix your calories and find what works to have successful, fun workouts, and then just keep doing it. And
Wow.
it really has felt that simple, coming out of it. So.
Yeah. I'm so glad. I am so glad because I think that sometimes when people think it has to be more complex than necessary, it stops them from even making the commitment in the first place. It's like, oh, it's gonna be so hard, right? But yeah, I guess like with when you were first starting, what do you feel like was the struggling point for you? Like what specifically were you struggling with before going through the process?
Um, yeah, I mean, I told you a little bit about this before. Back in February, before I met you guys, I had a bit of a work trip health scare thing, and I just was away from home. I was feeling terrible, and it was a lot of it was stress related, and I just thought I can't do this anymore. So I
Mm.
came home, and I'm like, changing today. I'm gonna do this. I did some workouts and tried to change the diet. Uh, and what happened was after 2 months of that, I'd lost about a pound and a half. Right? I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Right? I mean, I had made some changes that were probably better than they were before, but I didn't feel like I was really getting anywhere.
Mm.
So that's where but for me, I knew something had to change. Right? That was my ultimate goal, and happened to run into you guys through I think through X, and you asked me some very hard questions that I really had to think about.
Mm.
That made me realize like there's no way I'm going to be able to do this on my own going forward. I've got to make a decision here right now. What am I going to do? And glad I
Mm.
did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And I remember kind of that initial conversation and you talking me through like just it didn't seem at all like you weren't trying at all. Like sometimes you talk to guys like there's not even an effort, right? But I was like, man, like, okay, you're trying and you're struggling. So when you got on the inside, what were the actual specific changes that we helped you with that like led to the, you know, accelerated results?
Sure. I think the biggest one was there's a lot of classroom kind of opportunities, right? You guys have videos, calls on a regular basis where we can ask questions,
Mhm.
and a I call it like loving bluntness, right? Like the whole Christ-centered thing works here because you can speak this truth, and your job as my coach is to speak truths I don't want to hear to me, right?
Mhm.
Because you're expressing that love. Where sometimes in the world we don't want to give that to the people we are in our lives because we're afraid we're going to hurt their feelings or whatever. Like no, like you can't. I came to you. Here's the truth, right? What are you going to do about it? And so I think that the biggest, but really the biggest thing came down to understanding how calories work, right?
Mhm.
And really, and the idea that when you read your um, you pick up food and it's got all of its like all the nutrition facts, right? And it says,
Yeah.
oh, recommended protein, I think is what like 40 grams or something for an average American. And you're like, and you guys are like, no, 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 triple that, triple it to start. And
Mhm.
that's where you need to be as your baseline. Like, and
Mhm.
not just that you said to do it, but we went through why, what it's going to change about your body, how it's going to help you grow muscle, which will help you burn calories better, which means you'll get to, eventually, like where I am now, I'm eating a lot more than I did during the program because I'm much more active. And I know what I need and I know what foods work to kind of keep me healthy, which ones fill me up without, blowing me up, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I'm glad it was eye-opening to go through that process because, man, there's so much just incorrect, misaligned information out there on some of the basics, right? And it's just, man, it's almost sad seeing people take that and apply it to themselves. And, obviously the results that most Americans have are reflective of the information they're getting, which is really sad. But yeah, like with all that, what were some of the things that you had tried before that didn't really have the effect before doing this?
so in general, I had been an athlete in college, so my weight kind of fluctuated with marriage and kids. I have a lot of kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, when I was younger, it would just be simply, oh, cut out the candy for a few weeks. You'll lose a few pounds and you'll be fine again. Entering into my 40s, not only being 40, but being now 15 to 20 years removed from my workout days, right? And never really doing anything consistently for 20 years now, the effect of just being able to wing it was less and less and less, right?
Gotcha.
And so, so I kind of went back to what do I know, what works. So I was doing some sprinting because my 6-year-old son was enjoying kind of running in the backyard with me. So we go out there and run like 30 minutes every couple days. And I was kind of looking at what I was eating, but it really came back to I just didn't know what to do because what had maybe worked when I was a younger guy wasn't working anymore, right? And I was just sitting there flat. And again, with this just recognition, something needed to get different, and I needed help. So,
Mm.
and I think that's sometimes hard is to just like admit, like, yeah, I need help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I feel like that's honestly what holds a lot of people back, which is it's so crazy because I think that, and you didn't have this, so I'm not speaking about you, but sometimes I've spoken to people who it's like, okay, like, yeah, we can help. Everything makes sense, right? And the only thing that stops them is almost no, I don't need help. It's like, okay. The people who win are the ones who kind of think they need help. It's almost like the blessed are the poor in spirit thing. It's like, I need help. Okay, cool. You'll be blessed. So yeah, I think that probably speaks to why it seems like you applied everything like so readily and were so receptive to it. And obviously, like the results showed. But that's awesome. That's a great character trait to have kind of going in. Yeah, something else I'm curious about for you is obviously at home, you're home with your wife, you've got six, right? Which is the dream, right? Um, but brings its own unique challenges with, okay,
Hmm.
how do I balance this from a time standpoint and from a like, what am I eating with what are the kids eating and the family eating? So how did you balance that? I guess from, yeah, the time standpoint and then literally just the home eating situation standpoint.
Yeah, so the time I will say, fortunately, had enough of a home gym to be able to do it here, right? So I'm not adding another 20 minutes of traveling somewhere to get
Mhm.
that done. Luckily, my older boys, high school athletes, during the whole like shutdown of the world thing, we decided we build them their own little gym so they could work out at home.
Mhm.
And so I was able to use that as a starting point and build it up. So that helped. I will say, managing the time is tough. It goes back to I had to really think about beyond eating and working out, my bedtime and my rise time, right?
Mhm.
What is the right time to be going to bed and getting up? Do I really need to stay up and watch an extra TV show and be up till 12:30 at night so that I'm rolling out of
Mhm.
bed at 8:30, right to my computer to work because I work at home? No, I go to bed much earlier than that. I'm up early. I'm able to go out and just kind of work out, put some earbuds in and do my thing, and that helped there. Um, on the food side, that was a tough one. It still is from time to
Mhm.
time, right?
Yeah.
Dad is a little bit crazier about what he eats than the rest of the family. But one of the things my wife actually required of me was that I have to participate in the grocery shopping. If
Yeah.
wants me to be a part of that, if she wants me to have these special rules, I got to be a part of what's going on here because she can't manage like dad stuff, family stuff. So
Mhm.
like we have our big Costco trips every couple of weeks, and I help kind of decide what works and walk with her, and we walk together through that of okay, what are some compromises we can make? What do we know the kids like, but maybe want to tweak it a little bit to be a little healthier, a little bit more
Mhm.
protein based, that kind of stuff. And we've
Wow.
really just sort of worked together on that aspect so that in general, we're all doing a little bit better on eating the healthy thing. And a little bit more tied up on that, which has been helpful too, because again, my two athlete boys now, as they're going into their baseball seasons, they're
Yeah.
eating, they're eating a little better and stuff like that as well. So
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, getting them on the high protein and we just hitting homers.
exactly.
That's great. Cool. Yeah. So, and man, I just have so many more questions, honestly, because I'm curious. Like, okay, you did this in a situation where most men who live at home with the wife and have six kids, they just think that's impossible, right? Most. And because they think that, then it is, right? But on that front, like, what I guess did you see as a response from your family and from your wife when they saw you taking it so much more seriously? Like, how did the support come into play?
That's a good question. I think first I'll just say, at the end of this, it's easy to look back and think, oh, it was all easy, right? And it wasn't, right? There was a lot of work along the way. There was a lot of asking people to restructure what they're doing to make room for what I'm doing,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. It's an interesting thing, kind of working with my younger kids. I'm hoping that working out with dad becomes a part of their life because the teenage boys is not as cool because we haven't done too
Yeah.
much in the past.
Yeah.
Um, but so it's really, when you live with 8 people in the house, you're always balancing everything about, you never want to be in, people have a lot of things going on. You don't want to get in each other's way. So I think in terms of that, there was a lot of like, how do we make this work? For me personally, it did mean like I do a lot of that stuff, especially my workouts and stuff, kind of before folks are up, for the so the family's up and moving around, so that I'm taking care of it. I'm able to do that, get showered, get to work,
Yeah.
and then they can start their days. But in terms of like them noticing the changes, yeah, I think there's definitely some things that have been good. I feel like I'm able to keep up better with the younger kids,
Mhm.
especially now that I'm starting to coach baseball with the youngest boy.
Mhm.
And that we're able to play more. We're starting to incorporate more physical play into things, right?
Mhm.
It's not just go play. It's trying to structure that of hey, can the kids learn how to do hangs and even my little 3-year old sometimes will want to walk out and pick up the little 1 pound dumbbells and work out
Yeah.
with daddy, right? That kind of stuff. So I think that's been good. I do think there's appreciation on the wife's side a little bit too, which is always nice.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think it's been a lot of being open and honest about what the needs are,
Mhm.
communicating, and then compromising a little bit here and there
Mhm.
when we all have our different priorities.
Mhm.
But I think in general it's been good. And like I said, like things like the grocery shopping, if that's what's in the pantry, that's what's getting eaten, right? Like
Mhm.
so, not a lot of complaint, and that doesn't mean that we can't. What I love too, right? When you start learning about this stuff, it's not a diet, right? Is I want to take the family out for ice cream. We go out for ice cream, right? That's not a problem. And it's not something I'm trying to teach my kids to be ashamed of doing either, right? It's
Right.
like, no, we can do that. We do that in the context of a healthy lifestyle, though, right? Which
Yeah.
is, I think, the major change. So,
That makes so much sense. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that. And I'm so glad that you're not, yeah, like no ice cream anymore. It's like, no, here's how we do it and stay healthy, right? That's so cool. So yeah, I guess like having been at this weight now, this weight range here for 5-ish months, how have you seen this impact you like overall?
Well, I mean, so the biggest thing is, my biggest worry was that stress was literally going to kill me, and I don't like my job has not gotten easier, right? It's not still stress. It's still stressful, but I manage it like it's night and day the way I approach that part of my life, for example. And I think that has to do with not only the fact that I'm physically healthier, right? I'm much more active. I can, walk much longer distances. I'm pushing weight around that I couldn't do for years before, but also just the fact that I have like default actions, they apply back to the work, right? So
Mm,
at bedtime, I get up in the morning, I work out, I go to work. I'm already in a different mood going to work than if I woke up, and that's the trouble with working from home. You wake up 15 minutes before you start working, you're not even awake yet, and you're already being dumped with all this stress. Versus
mhm,
no, I've got my priorities first. I go to work, I'm ready for work, right? And
mm.
so I think that's actually been the biggest thing for me is the biggest worry and concern I had. I feel so much more relieved about it nowadays. So
Dude, amen. Amen, dude. That's incredible to hear. And yeah, like just sitting here on the other side, listening to what you're describing as your experience through this, I'm just like, cool, sweet. God is good, man. God is good.
Amen.
I'm so glad to see all the blessings on the other side of this, man. So, um, Jason, dude, thanks so much for doing this, and thank you for your hard work, just being a testament to everybody else. I hope this inspires so many people, and I know it will.
Appreciate it. And thanks as always to you guys and your team for all you guys helped me through. So thanks.
Thanks, man.